It is Wednesday, August 31st, and you're listening to the College Football Daily. I'm Brendan Marcello. Week one is finally here, and the Backyard Brawl is back after more than a decade of dormancy. And in this game, we shall see two former USC quarterbacks facing off against each other in a rare matchup of former teammates leading their new teams as quarterbacks in week one. JT Daniels with West Virginia and Kedon Slovis at Pitt, two blue chips type stars who have NFL aspirations, who really had kind of entered the back of our minds because we hadn't seen them all that much lately. But now they're two stars waiting to butt into superstars once again. And it all starts when Pitt and West Virginia face off Thursday night in the Backyard Brawl. To get a unique perspective on this, we turn to Trevor Trout, a former teammate of the two at USC, to get some more intel on these two. Trevor, thanks for joining us. So, JT Daniels, Kedon Slovis, two great quarterbacks. What are we going to see from these two when they hit the field Thursday night?
We're going to see, first of all, what makes college football great. We love the comeback story. We love that he was great. Something happened this time to come back. Let's root for him. And here you got two really good ones. You got two guys who are two great competitors who are in the same room together. On top of that, you got the drama. You got Graham Harrell, who's his quarterback's going to be the guy who he picked over, and they're working together. You got a guy who he transferred to another school. He's expecting that the receiver he's going to be throwing to, he's going to be there, and he's going to the school he's formerly at. There's so many cool storylines we got here. But at the end of the day, we want to see these guys go out there and play well. And I know both of them want to win this game bad. And most people, this might be the game of the week in the United States of America. Week one college football. So, what to expect, honestly, man, I'm expecting a lot of week one shots, really getting tricky because where people want the bragging rights. Quarterbacks, that's what they love. We know both coordinators love this. And it's a great look because, obviously Pitt's got a new OC. And then, you got a quarterback like Kedon Slovis, who I can say he's one of the better quarterbacks he's had. And then you got a guy like Graham, who has a quarterback he's familiar with. And he just gets to lay it all on the line this weekend, man. So it's awesome. Love it.
Yeah, that's the added dynamic to this. You just mentioned Graham Harrell, the OC at West Virginia, formerly the OC at USC with these quarterbacks. It's so much crazy storylines going into this. But let's focus here on the quarterback we've seen most recently, and that's Kedon Slovis. He played last season, of course, at USC. Struggled a little bit, threw 11 touchdowns, had 8 interceptions. But I think a lot of us who really chronicle college football remember just how he busted on the scene in 2019 as a freshman, throwing for more than 3,500 yards, set the NCAA record for completion percentage for a freshman with 71.9% completion percentage. Obviously an elite talent, then kind of had a bumpy road last season, and as did USC, as you know. What kind of quarterback is he that you got to witness as a teammate there at USC?
One thing I saw with Keaton is Keaton is a quiet leader type. He's going to go through and about his work, just about what he's doing and what he does, from my experience. And just when he goes out there to go play, he's going to communicate with his coordinator because him and Graham are really tight. That's why I'm saying that's why this is going to be so fun because that's really his guy. What I'm saying? He used to watch his kids. You know what I'm saying? So then you got that, and then you have this other component of when Keaton's in the room, then JT, 5-star quarterback, modern day, one of the best high school quarterbacks ever seen, still really good. He's coming in, and then on top of the offense is different for him. Because, as you know, JT was a pro-style guy, and then our offense changed to the air raid, and just at the time, it could have seemed as if it was a better scheme fit. At the same time, you have two quarterbacks who have two really weird timelines because we also got to remember, too, no one ever intended on Keaton ever even play at USC. He was my roommate. He used to be with us. It's so funny, crazy story. But, he's in the room with me, backup quarterback, two quarterback, and JT goes down in that game. And then he was ready, and he goes out there, does that thing against Stanford. It was wild because it happened so fast. We used to have a joke. Mark, my friend Mark, would do it. He would say, "How crazy it would be if JT went down and Keaton had to go in the game and play." And then
And it happened in the season opener.
It happened in the season opener. And we were like, whoa, like no one saw this coming. But the thing is with Kedon, though, is like, because we saw him in practice, is like, you knew he would go out there and tear it up. And like, that's the same reason why he was mocked a top 10 pick last year. And like, we talk about college football and how tricky it is and how fickle it is. Like JT, by the time he was a junior, he was expected to be in the NFL. Yep. Same thing with Kedon. Like there's things that happened in between where like that stopped that thing from happening right there. Like college football's crazy. You got the Kenny Pickett year, and then you have some people that are telling you like, oh, Sam Howell couldn't play because UNC didn't win. And that's what's so crazy about college football. These guys, he was on a team that didn't win. He was on a team that didn't win. We were very dinged up. USC was very dinged up. Then you have a situation where JT, he was still recovering from that knee, came back, got dinged up again, and it's like, hey, this is the quarterback we're rolling with, and they won. It's like these are things you can't really predict these things because the thing is like I've never seen JT really play bad.
Yeah.
In his career, like when he's played, like if he got that knee cleaned up for Georgia a couple years ago, like it could have won the national championship. Like I was there at the Zoo game. He looked really good.
Yeah, that's the thing about JT Daniels. For the folks listening who don't know, he's battled injuries. I mean, I remember, I think even his first year, 2018, USC had a concussion that knocked him out. Then some other little things, and then he had the ACL tear, which is a massive injury. Plays in 2020 is 4-0 as a starter at Georgia, but he didn't get to start until late in the season because he was still recovering from the knee injury, but was 4-0 as a starter, threw 10 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. But then you started seeing the rise of Stetson Bennett, and he had an opportunity to come in, and the coaches kind of decided at Georgia, hey, let's stick with him. So JT Daniels, in his first transfer season, all of a sudden it's like now he's the backup again, and it's because of injury. And he comes into 2021, starts, but then has another kind of injury, the oblique, and then he ends up transferring. And Georgia should have been his moment, I guess. A lot of us just thought, hey, Georgia's set up to win a national championship. They finally had that.
People were picking Georgia to win the national championship that year because JT transferred.
Because of JT Daniels, they had the missing piece. They had the big-time arm talent, the big-time NFL-type quarterback finally. And they end up winning it with a former walk-on. You just never know how crazy it is. So I transition to this. JT's at West Virginia. West Virginia has struggled a little bit here the last couple of years under Neil Brown. Critical year for him. But now you move forward, and JT comes into a situation where I believe that he could turn West Virginia around immediately, but also have West Virginia potentially be a top 15, top 10 team just because of how he plays at quarterback.
It was so interesting with JT is like, I'll never forget it. When he transferred to Georgia, he's a California, Orange County kid. He gets out there, he starts throwing with those dudes. And like he and I, like we talk ball a lot. And then he got to throw with guys like George, like all these kids from like, the South. And I'm like, he was like, Trevor, this is different. He was like, bro, he's like, I don't think I've ever thrown to guys like this before. And I'm like, I know you haven't. And then the thing is like, it wasn't even the fact that he hadn't been thrown against like he has. It's just it was a different type. He was like, yo, these dudes are fast. And they were like years. And then like once he started throwing to him, he's like, yo, this is easy. Like he was at Georgia, he was like, bro, like I got some of the best backs in the country. He's like, I have some of the best receivers in the country. He's like, got some of the best guards in America.
Yeah.
He's like, bro, all I gotta do is run the offense. And on top of that, him and the OC, like they had a good communication there. You know what I'm saying? They had a great relationship. It's just he got dinged. That's really all that happened. Like you got two quarterbacks who like they got dinged in their career, and obviously you get like the hurt label, and it just is not fair. But now like here's the redemption time. Like it's a perfect timeline for everybody. 5th year JT Daniels, like people still know he can play, still know he's good. NFL checks still to be had. Then you got Kedon, 4th year quarterback. Was expecting him to come out as a 3rd year. He's at Pitt now. They got a lot of their backs that are really good. They got a lot of good offensive linemen. And then they got a fair receiver room. Like, both these teams are going to be competitive. So, like, both these guys have a chance this week to put it on tape and get bragging rights. And that's really what it's all about.
And JT, he's got a very veteran-led offensive line in front of him too at West Virginia, which is going to be critical in this game because Pitt, their defensive front, as you know, is just legit and is always near the top of the FBS under Coach Pat Narduzzi
They
for getting
recruit very well.
TFLs and sacks. And yeah,
They
so
recruit very well, man.
how does JT kind of, you think, handle all that? Does he get the ball out quick enough? I mean, he's obviously a very smart guy, and we were talking off the air about how he, he doesn't need to be told, read through this or whatever. He knows where the ball's going.
Well, JT is going to be he's going to have to just slow the game down. That's the one thing he does because he really plays a lot of this stuff out of the gun pro style. So then you got Graham, who he does things differently. I think because honestly, this is just me guessing because JT's an older guy now, and then you got a coordinator where he knows him. You know what I'm saying? And they know there's tug and pull, and then you gotta understand that he had to commit to that school, knowing he's there, understanding that look, it's gonna be my job. We're gonna work together to try to win these games. I think there's gonna be a lot of stuff of Graham and JT just throwing just wrinkles in there as they're going because. As you know, JT likes to play. He likes to walk folks down. You're not going to get a bunch of bombs here and there, or whatever, but he's going to walk you down. That's how he plays the game. And then you got, on the other hand, now you got Kedon Slovis. He's playing a different offense now. He's playing the air raid his entire college career, and then his coordinator's on the other sideline. So on top of that, this happens in college football all the time. You really don't think West Virginia. Their defensive room, they asked Graham to come in. They're like, hey, what does he like? What does he like to see here? If we throw this little, flat zone in there, is he going to throw it there and give us a pick? This is part of the job. It's just war, So, Keaton is I'm interested to see because this OC is so different from the guy he had last, which is Graham Harrell. There's going to be a lot of a lot of kill. There's not going to be less sidelines, so more letting him run the offense, which I think, before that, he got to run it a little bit. But this is a little bit different because it's more hands-on, and Pitt's going to be running an NFL system, and they're trying to build the system through 9 what he does and these great backs that they have. So it's just going to be really fun, man, just to see watching these guys compete, watching how they play, how these guys score, how they're going to defend each other. Just the whole shootout. I'm hoping for a shootout. I hope we get one.
Yeah, I hope so too, because that's when that gets fun among quarterbacks. And I listened to you talk about all that, and obviously we always talk about who's got the advantage. But with JT Daniels, as you said, he's got that familiar system, a familiar coach. Yet that coach is maybe, if you were to maybe put a lie detector on him, would say I'm closer to Kedon Slovis previously. Yeah. But now Graham Harrell is at West Virginia with JT Daniels. Does JT Daniels maybe have a little bit of an edge there because he's playing in a system he's more maybe comfortable playing with? Or
I think the edge goes where, he's an older guy. And the thing is, people know, they know, JT's been in a couple schools now. You don't take in a quarterback like JT Daniels unless, if he was a problem or issue or whatever. The thing is, he's a real football guy. And the thing is, he wants to help. How can we score? How can I go to the iPad and go draw something up to where, this is not working? What can we do? You know what I'm saying? When you got an older quarterback like that, you can't do that with, a 19, 20-year-old quarterback. We get, 22, 23 like JT, he can sit down and draw it up with you. Week 1 game, big time game. It's loud. You got to get creative. College football sidelines are destructive. So it's just going to be fun to see that entire war because, as you said, Pitt, they recruit well on the edges. They recruit well. I don't know where they find some of these cats at. Them in Houston, they just go find these big 6'6", 270-pound long base ends, and they're just kick people's ass. And I'm yeah, it's tough, But I think Pitt's going to do is obviously control the line of scrimmage, take care of the ball, to get the ball out on time and on target. And that's one thing I know Kedon has done. Man, I don't think anybody's going to really play bad in this game. To be honest with you, like I think everyone's going to play well. It's just going to come down to just it's going to sound crazy as it sounds, but who scores the most points?
So that's very much a John Madden. We got whoever wins a game, they're gonna be scoring
Whoever
most
wins
points.
the football game, whoever scores the most points, I think they're going to win the football game.
What do you think this season holds? We'll start with Kedon Slovis. Can Pitt repeat as ACC champions, despite obviously Kedon Slovis being the new starter there at quarterback, without Jordan Addison, who, by the way, is now at USC after winning the Bolitnikoff as the top receiver in the country, goes to Pitt to USC this offseason. The transfer portal has made things wild, but what is the future hold? What's the season look like when we're sitting back in December for Kedon Slovis?
Honestly, it'll be unfair to me to absolutely ignore the work of Pitt's OC last year. At the same time, I know the guys they have in the room. I think still they can contend and win that ACC for sure. And people this is a hot take, and that's your boy. It's no, it's because what we're saying the ACC is just overly competitive now. Miami's here, they're unbeatable. That's not. It's not honest. Shout out my guy Lick. That's my guy in Miami right there. I'm glad he got to go back home do his thing. I'm just saying, bro, these games are going to be hard. These are winnable games for a lot of people. I can't say Pitt can't beat North Carolina. We look at their schedule. What Pitt doesn't even have to play Clemson this regular season, do that? How is there not a path for them to win the ACC title?
Yeah,
you know what I mean, it's more than reasonable.
Is JT Daniels the missing piece West Virginia's been looking for to get back on track?
I think so. I think JT Daniels is that program quarterback where it's this is the guy where it's okay, we need to get our program back on track for the next couple of years. Who's going to get us where we need to go? Who's going to be the guy that can save all of our jobs? It's 18. I'm going to tell you, it's 18 because 18 can come in the room and 18 can look all the other coaches in the eyes and I can draw this shit up just like you guys can.
Yeah.
And they know that. One thing I'll say about Georgia, right? The best part of having JT in your room, we're going to say that someone was coaching JT Daniels at Georgia. All they needed was a quarterback. We know quarterback development at Georgia hasn't been the greatest in the country the last 5 years. JT comes in, opens up the entire offense. George Pickens is yo, I'm not playing unless 18's out there on the field. I'm not finna go out there and waste these good snaps. I'm trying to get to the NFL and no one's throwing me the ball. Easy money. He makes things easier for people. On top of that, the guys who play with JT, you never hear them say bad things. You never hear them say bad things. This is how people talk about this is the gap year for the program to get us to the next step. This is the type of guy you sign. So now you get to see okay, cool. Is this going to be the rebirth of West Virginia football? Who knows? It could be. But the one thing is, you bring a guy in like that to make sure you keep your job.
And Neil Brown did just that and brought the OC as well, and Graham Harrell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was quartered across the SEC, even despite all these things. People know what it was, and he made the right fit for him. And he made the best decision because he knows what the coordinator is. He knows that job's his. It's just good business for everybody.
The Backyard Brawl, maybe the most fascinating game of week one. Despite all these top 10 matchups everybody's talking about, the Backyard Brawl might end up being the most electric and obviously the one with the most storylines. Trevor Trout, former USC defensive lineman, now with Wave Sports and Entertainment. You can follow him on social media at Total Trout Move. Trevor, thank you so much for the unique and fascinating perspective.
I appreciate it. And also check this out. So, right here live at 247, my guy, Coach Reed live, we get to it. So we're going to be watching West Virginia and Pitt this weekend live on playback. And check this out. This is all you got to do right now. All you got to do is log in to your provider, your TV provider. You can go in and watch the game with us. We might have some cool guests coming in, but regardless, we're going to watch the game because this is the game of the week. And who better to watch it with than me and then your friends like Carl Reed and whatnot at 247 here at CBS.
Carl Reed's the man. You know that. I can't wait to watch that and listen to it. That'd be great.
Appreciate it, man.